Today marks the kickoff of Let's Talk Month, and while it can be difficult having the talk with your teens, it's essential in building an atmosphere of trust and security. So Lauren Rogers, she's a certified holistic sexuality educator and joins us now with some advice. Welcome, great to have you.
It's wonderful to be here.
Yeah, so let's talk about Let's Talk Month. You know, this is the time to sit down and really have this conversation, which is so awkward and weird and hard.
So awkward and weird and hard, and I am so thankful to Advocates for Youth for dedicating an entire month to this topic, right? I want to normalize for every viewer today that having talks with our children about sexuality and the bodies of others is awkward and hard.
Yeah.
And there are resources like the ones we're going to talk about today. There are helpers. There are educational tools for you. You are not alone in this awkward and hard thing. And today is the kickoff of Let's Talk Month.
So why is it important that we have this talk with our teens?
You know, obviously I come on here and discuss this all the time, but what research continually shows is that warm communication with the children in our lives about sexuality related topics leads to healthier young people and higher achievement rates and higher understandings of themselves and better self-esteem.
Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want. So let's talk about some characteristics of parents with, you call it sexually healthy adolescents. That does not mean that we're advocating for them to be sexually active. Just quite the contrary,
Quite the contrary. And you know what? This was not on any of my slides, but I was listening to a podcast on the way over here today. And I want to introduce this concept that when we think about age appropriate and developmentally appropriate math skills for a child, we know that we would not be teaching our first grader calculus.
Right.
We wouldn't.
No.
But we do know that in order for our child to take calculus or algebra or geometry in high school, there are fundamental things that our child needs to know. I would encourage every parent to think about the types of conversations we discussed today as blocks of building blocks to getting our children to be able to flourish as consenting, healthy sexual adults. I am not talking about the types of conversations that you would have with another consenting adult. I am talking about the building blocks, and those are simply things like consent, body boundaries, how to begin and continue and end relationships. There are different fundamental things that our children need to be learning at different ages so that they can have consensual and flourishing sexual encounters way later on in life.
Healthy relationships.
Ones.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, you mentioned be an askable parent, which I love because we want them to come to us and not to others. And I'm seeing that these ages are getting younger and younger where they're getting exposed to some of these things that maybe we don't really want them to be exposed to.
No, and I come on here and talk about all the time that we conflate sex with so many things in our culture and that we are using sex to get relationships so often. And our young people have access to media that many of us wish they didn't, and so they are using sexual behaviors to become closer. But yeah, I have a slide full of becoming an askable parent, and it's so cute because it's listen. Start discussions about sex, then listen, then educate yourself, then listen.
There's a theme
There's a theme here. And I think we make it too complicated for ourselves sometimes. And that really, truly, and we'll get into this with door slammers, what we need to make sure that we're doing is listening. Asking our kids, and how does that feel? And what are your friends doing right now? Oh, and what does it feel like to want to send that picture of yourself? What does it look like to want to be included in that group of friends? Ask questions, offer advice, but then don't give it if it's not requested. Again, on this podcast I was listening to, they were saying, make sure there's other adults in your child's life that they can speak to as well.
Right, if they're not comfortable coming to you, then there's a safe person.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, that is smart. I do want to get to the door slammer. Don't be a door slammer. What does that mean?
These things. I know there's a ton of text, and I want to remind all the viewers that they can go to the link and get this resource all for themselves. But try not to mock our children. That would be a step one. Trying to not be a one-way communicator, telling your child what to do. Try not to take those things too lightly. Well, in my day, we had to. And if you hear yourself giving too much advice, it's always okay to stop and say, I did it again.
Right.
I'm giving advice. Do you have any questions?
Right.
Would you like me just to listen? I found myself doing it with my high schooler just the other day. She was trying to share something with me about a hard moment at school. What did I do? The sex educator. I thought I'd give her a wonderful piece of advice. And I literally felt her body sink in the car like this.
Wow.
As opposed to she had started to share with me, which was an open body posture. We can never discredit the gift we are giving to our children by listening.
Yeah, because they want to talk
They
to
want
us.
what we are forgetting is that we were a safe person.
Right.
So instead, give yourself grace to say, thanks for sharing that with me. That sounds really hard.
And then stop talking.
Stop talking. Stop.
I know it's awkward and weird and you don't want to talk and you just talk because you're uncomfortable. Anyway, we want to give this information out. Let's Talk Month. Information is on your website. You have a free consult as
Yes.
well. All the links are over on our website as well. Thank you so much as always. We
so welcome.
appreciate it. Okay, we'll be right back.